Ali, the head of HR and academics at Magna Carta College. Hello, Dr. Ali. How are you today?
All good. It's a sunny day in London. All well.
Thank you for kindly joining us in this session. We will be discussing important insights and tips for prospective job candidates, whether they have already applied or are planning to apply to, and how to enhance their chances of a successful job application. So as a program leader, Dr. Ali, I would like to ask you a couple of questions. What are the top three qualities or skills that you, as a HR professional, look for in a candidate during an interview? And how can candidate effectively demonstrate these?
Well, this is a very important question, right? And thanks for picking this question too. And welcome all of the participants that's listening to us. Okay, well, I can link this with a theory so that I can let them understand it better. It's a persuasion theory, so it has three components. Persuasion theory has communication, it has attitude and behavior. So if a person has good communication, and communication can be verbal, it can be non-verbal, it can be gestures. So if you have got good communication skills where you can put your message across well on the table, right? So this is the first win you can have on the interview table with an interviewer. And second point is, right, you should have the right attitude. Means, that attitude it talks about being relevant to the content they're looking at. For example, right, you're applying for a job, for an engineer job, and you are an MBBS by education, so this is not relevant, right? Even you have got the right attitude and communication, your respective behavior that an organization is looking for will not resonate to it, right? So these are the three cardinal points. One is communication, second is attitude, third is behavior. So that communication leads to attitude, and then attitude leads to behavior. And very important thing is, right, you need to be very natural in an interview. So there are many points, right? We can have a 2-3 hours training on how to be a part of the interviews, but if I being very pertinent about a fact is your behavior in that of course your behavior should be what organization desires. Maybe organization desires a very formal behavior, so you need to be formal in an interview. But of course, this behavior should be communicated to yourself. That is the communication. So communication is not only of what you say, communication is what goes into your mind that results in having respective behavior in an interview.
Thank you. How important do you think it is for candidates to tailor their resumes and cover letters to each job application? What specific elements should they focus to stand out for each individual job application?
Well, this is very important, right? So basically, I've been reviewing the resumes from quite a long time. And I see people applying for the jobs with the similar resumes and similar cover letters, right? Sometimes we have just recently advertised a position of lecturer for having in Magna Carta, right? Because we are growing, and of course we have got so many students in. And I've seen cover letters for the applications as a receptionist, right? So of course people even don't bother changing cover letters. And also you can tailor your respective CVs. For example, if I would like to apply somewhere, so I've got an experience in academics and human resource both, right? But of course, if the job desires me to be human resource, I need to tailor my resume as per the requirement, so that once the recruiter reviews your resume, that person shortlists you. If I tell you a very good research, and maybe be shocking or surprising to many listeners, we only review a resume for 30 seconds to 1 minute. We skim it. And if we find it fine, we just further shortlist. So we call it long listing, and then we bring it to shortlisting, and then we go for the interviews, right? So your CV should be very clear, concise, and precise, so that it attracts the recruiter for it to be shortlisted.
Thank you. In today's digital age, how significant it is a candidate online presence? For example, LinkedIn profile, social media, in the hiring process. For example, what advice would you give for maintaining a professional online image?
Well, this is a question I would like to tell all my students, right? Or maybe all the participants who are an applicant.
And maybe share some personal experience. What experience have you got in order to as a HR professional? I'm sure you have received a lot of resumes, candidates that you would look up on LinkedIn. What is your experience on all this?
Yes.
Do you think it is important?
Very important, right? just to let you know first, right? LinkedIn is in a professional network, right? So do not make it TikTok, Instagram, and do not just make it more, a platform where you propose people to get on a date with them, right? So you just need to, LinkedIn is a professional platform. Let it be a professional platform. I remember there was a candidate, that applied to us without, naming the gender even, right? And we have seen the LinkedIn profile. Oh my God, this was so it was very even the informal, the personal things were posted there. And when I went through the comments, right, we for respective position we desired respective maturity. I'm not being judgmental, right? We never get judgmental about certain things, but when we had a scroll on the respective LinkedIn, right, we did not find the right fit in we need for the position. So maybe that person may be a good fit for a hotel manager, but not maybe for an academic institute, right? Because we require some desired skill sets, and that desired skill set might be missing. So we can be wrong in only reviewing it once, and we, of course, sometimes, but I'm just telling you the psyche of a recruiter. So these things really matter. Just, I would like to take an example, right? We dress well, we wear a tie, we wear a pocket square, and then we go to the interview. So it's just about making the right impression in front of the recruiter or having the person having an interview. Of course, you being dressed well does not show that you will perform well in the respective position, but it gives the right image in the interview, and then at least it gives you a chance to perform. But you don't have a right LinkedIn profile, and especially social accounts. So whatever your personal accounts, just divide them into personal and professional, and make personal accounts, lock them, make personal accounts personal, and make public accounts public, right? So that they can review that. So this is a very humble suggestion to all of my listeners.
Thank you so much. That's a great tip to in order to start to become a professional. As I can see, there are many students that joining us today. So in order to share this experience, it's really, I believe, it's really valuable for them. So as a follow-up question, what questions should candidates ask during an interview to demonstrate their interest in the role in the company? And for example, how can these questions also provide a valuable insight for the candidate?
Yes. Okay. So, let me talk about in retrospective way, right? So, what an interviewer may really want an interviewee, right?
Yes.
To really talk about. So an interview should ask, once the interview gets done, right? They say, any questions for the organization? And you say, well, what do you really desire in case I'm shortlisted and further hired for the position? What will be what will be your expectations from the position? Number one. And you cannot ask what will be the job description, because once you applied this in an organization, you always read the job description first. If the job description matches your profile, then you apply. So you don't need to ask what is the salary bracket, because it is written in the job ad normally. And you can normally ask about flexibility, because this time the organizations talk about flexibility, right? Is it possible that I am allowed sometimes to work from home? Is it possible that I am allowed to, do I need to travel to different locations? Or you can ask these questions. Or what kind of environment do you have? Are you participative in nature? Do you believe in transformative leadership? Are you into servant leadership? Just ask a little more professional questions to the interviewer, so that they can reply you formally, and you can further decide. And you do not leave yourself only to their decision. Rather, you should also decide in 2 or 3 alternatives whether you need to join this organization or not. So you need to be firm at your stance and in your personality, but always be very humble.
Thank you. We also have a couple of questions for our students. So the first question that they would like to ask is how to effectively answer final round interview questions related to the current job scenarios and provide practical solutions.
Okay, yes. Okay, so yes, so this is a very nice question. And what we look at, right, there's a model and you can refer to, and we call it BETNA, best alternative to a negotiated agreement, right? So whenever they give you a scenario in an interview and say, how will you really be behaving in the respective scenario? So you always need to focus on BETNA, best alternative to a negotiated agreement. And second point is ZOPA, zone of possible agreement. Whenever you enter in a negotiation, you bring in a zone of possible agreement where you come to a common ground, right? So if they give you a scenario, if you just are going to represent the scenario, put in ZOPA and BETNA into that scenario where you do not get in a collusion, with the person who is negotiating with. You just come to a common ground. So use ZOPA, zone of possible agreement, especially when you talk in the final interviews and scenario-based interviews.
And the next question that we have, it is, what is more important, qualifications or industry experience?
It's a mix of both. It's a mix of both. So, being part of the academic sector now, right, so we call it pre-academics, right? So pre-academics are quite desired by the industry, both industries, for having practical experience in academics. I personally value skill set more because if you carry a piece of paper only and you don't have the desired skill set, you won't get a job. And normally in UK and Europe, we always say that there are less jobs in the market, but being very frank to everybody, there are many jobs in the market. We just really don't get the desired skill set. So you need to club this skill set with your degree. So now what this industry gives you, it's the required skill set. So if you have got the required qualification, you need to have and it's mixed with the industry experience. It's a cherry on the cake. But sometimes to enter in a desired organization, you need to carry a respective qualification. For example, there may be a recently graduated chartered accountant. He must be knowing all the formulas and all the tricks and of the trades for accounting, but he may not have the right experience for dealing with the blue chip companies. So yes, he can learn upon those skills, but of course that position requires respective qualification. But in some positions, qualification is not required and your required skill set is required, right? So this is a mix, but if I answer very candidly, there should be a very good mix, and it is relevant to the position that is advertised.
Thank you. So how do we deal with questions related to a salary expectation? For example, a student, a recent graduate, for example, he's going to be his first experience, and how we're dealing with new as ours as a company and a student, what salary expectation he should be having.
Okay, yes. Okay, so there's a word, right, I can tell you. I know if my HR professionals, my colleagues may say you are leaking out the questionnaire, we internally have, and the yardstick, but normally we like to listen few things, right? If a person says to us, I believe in having pay for performance culture, right? So if you perform well, your salary increases, right? You can put in like this, and also you can say it's market competitive. So normally when you apply for a job, you do have the respective bands of the salaries. If these are not mentioned, and if they say you what are your salary expectations, you can normally say it should be market competitive and as per your required position that is advertised. However, if you don't know it, you at least quote what you feel like. That of course, this is what I desire. However, I am flexible about this. When you say I'm flexible, it means you can go up, they can go normally down about, and they can talk to you again. And if you say, no, this is the bare minimum ballpark figure and I will not work more than that. So this is not flexibility in an interview. So you need to be flexible and say market competitive, let's say 25,000 or 30,000 or 35,000. And I believe in pay for performance culture. So I believe once I perform above and beyond, you automatically will be rewarded extrinsically and intrinsically.
Thank you. Just a couple of more questions and we won't be long, I believe. Would you agree that soft skills are more important than hard skills? Can you train soft skills?
100%, right? Softer skills are more important than hard skills, it is true. Because, for example, let me give you an example, right? For example, if I'm hired for an plant operation position, right? And I do have the hard skills, but I need to appear in an interview. So the interview sees your aptitude, your attitude, and they also talk about your communication skills. So even you are very well educated or very well desired with respect to the eligibility, but of course, softer skills are very important. But of course, we cannot negate harder skills at all. So we need to be talking about the harder skills as well. I guess I can take some more questions. So there's a question by Anita Clark, and the session is very good and informative. Thank you so much. Would you please ask what is a desirable length of a CV? Okay, this is a very good question. And if, for example, if someone has 10 years more than experience, okay, yes. So let's divide resume and CV differently. So resume is short. Resume is around max 1 pager. And CV is longer. So in CV, you can write your job description, what you have done. So whenever you apply, you can talk about, you can send your resume. And if the longer CV is required, you can divide your profile into CV and resume, where you require only need to mention for the initial application, you can apply with the resume. In case they desired further information, they can request your CV as well. So this is the question I wanted to ask with respect to the CV and resume question. Yes.
Hello, I'm so sorry, apologies. I seem to be having some internet connections issue. Okay, so thank you so much for providing these answers, but we are having some good feedbacks from our students. So Anita says this session is very good and very informative. Would you please ask what is the desirable length of a CV,
Yes,
for example?
I answered this question already, right? So you can go to another question.
How can interviewers ensure they're prepared to assess candidates fairly?
Yeah, this is a very nice question, 𝗲𝗲. So this is right on putting an HR professional on a spotlight. Yes, okay. So yes, so sometimes we feel that we make a panel. So for example, person A can have a biasness or person B can have a biasness. Just to remove biasness, we make a panel, right? Panel of 3 to 4 people, and the panel comprises of different people with different, or sometimes different departments, some different functions, right? So that we remove biasness. Also, we make the interview standardized. For example, we can give them a questionnaire for having 7-8 points and say, please rate them into that. So for example, this questionnaire will not have the rating on how do I look like. For if I've got a beard, I'm clean shaved, what's my weight, how tall I am, right? Until I'm hired for a basketball team, right? So this is not included in the interview questionnaire. And that's why, just to make the interview questionnaire, we would like to have standardization, right? To remove biases. But yes, when there are humans, they can be 5%, right? But of course, if you are good in an interview, I believe there are no biases these days. So we definitely prepare people before the interview, or they go to the interview panel. It's a nice question, 𝗲𝗲.
Thank you, Dr. Ali. I am going to ask you a final question. As a program leader and a HR professional that has a several experience, how do we, with today's artificial intelligence, how can a company select the ideal candidate in terms of now that artificial intelligence is going forward? How can we ensure we have the right talent, the right opportunity, and the skills that the employee that will be hired will have?
It's very. The question needs. I guess this brings my professorial soul. So I may need maybe 30 minutes to answer that. But cutting long story short, right? First of all, organizations. This is part of the OD, right? Organizational development. And in organizational development, we talk about that organizations should have organizational goals, right? So what are they looking for? Are they looking for long-term roles? And if they're looking for a long-term role, then they should have some things put in an organization for having relevant CPDs, and they show a complete career path to the person they are attracting to, right? Because these days, if I talk about Gen Zs and millennials, and they normally, as per research, they only work with an organization for 18 months to 24 months, right? It's 1.5 years to 2 years. And then they would like to switch if they don't get anything new. So to attract the right talent, we need to have a mutually beneficial relationship. So if they are giving hours to us and giving their services to us, and we reach from point A to B, the organizations should really take care of them. And there's a very important factor, where organizations falter. They prepare a person for a couple of 3-4 years working with them, and then don't really take care, and then the person leaves. And we say, oh my God, we'll have a replacement. Oh, this is the biggest problem an organization may have, because once there is a churn rate, when people switch from organizations, it takes at least 3 months for a person to be effective in an organization. So imagine if people keep leaving, and then you keep bringing new people, keep training them. It's a loss of time, loss of labor, loss of, and then you move 2-3 steps back. So if you need to continue respective people forward, you need to put in right steps so that they remain motivated intrinsically with respect to pat on the back, and extrinsically in terms of money, rewards, traveling, certifications, spending on their, anything, right? So this is what, organizations should look forward for, and they should retain people for working for them with the longer run.
Thank you so much. That is exactly what we needed as an answer. Thank you once again, Dr. Ali. And thank you so much.
I guess we can take some questions, right? If you,
yes,
I can see some very, yes, I can. There's a question by, I guess I was seeing that. There's a question about scenarios, right? Practical scenarios, and there's a question about ideal CVs. So, just to, if you allow me, and I can conclude that as well, in case you don't get a question. So the question is, how can we prepare? Basically, let me conclude that in all together with all the questions, that how can we really prepare ourselves? Preparation is basically starts from planning. So we need to plan well to appear in an interview, and you need to be very relaxed when you are in an interview. So for example, and you're put on a spotlight right now today, because you are moderating the session. So then you must be planning this, right? I'm going to ask this question, I'm going to ask this question. You must have gone to Google or any website. You must have seen my profile because you have read that already. And then you have asked me relevant questions. So you have worked on that. So you have planned to be a moderator in the respective session. This is what I really expect an interviewee to be doing, that in going in front of an interview panel, to at least prepare. The biggest mistake, we say, what do you know about our organization? Sorry, I didn't go through your website, right? This is the answer we get. See, so sad it is. Whenever you're applying to an organization, at least go through their website, right? Go through their basic offerings, whether they are product or services. So at least go through their website, read about things. And also imagine if I'm a head of HR of an organization, at least go through my profile. What is my profile? What kind of a guy I could be? I have some preparations, right? And then this is how you can have a preparation. So plan, prepare, and then go. This is my suggestion again to all the interviewees going in front of an interview.
Thank you. We have another question regarding inclusivity and diversity.
Yes, this is So if we talk about, we're talking from UK, right? So UK is is a country that believes in diversity, equity, and inclusion. So yes, we need to work on diversity because it makes you learn new things from different cultures, races, ethnicities, religions. So yes, if you work in an inclusive culture, diverse culture in an organization, it brings in diversity. Also, it brings in more creativity in an organization because people may have different yardsticks coming from different backgrounds, different countries, different religions. So yes, 100% organizations, when they advertise positions, they may not maybe formally, but informally they can value few of the nationality. For example, right, if I have students from certain communities, I may involve some lectures from the respective country or community to tackle them with respect to their personal question, then they feel at home. So I may have a diverse team tackling that respective customer. And if I talk about respective customers to our respective conglomerate, right, they can also have diverse culture for having that inclusive culture, for bringing in people from different race, ethnicity, culture, religion. So yes, it is much needed. Dr. West, thank you so much for asking questions.
Also, we have many feedbacks here that this is excellent session, very valuable and informative session. Someone says an ideal CV should be 1 page long. Then I would like to add something to this. How old do you think a CV should be? Should it be regular?
I answered that, right? I guess I answered this, right, before. So Anita can go back and see the question. I guess this will be recorded and placed on the YouTube and Instagram and everything. So you can just replay this back and you can see this. I answered this already, right?
Okay. Yes. So we have another question. How important is cultural fit compared to technical skills? So we touched a bit of this, where we said the diversity and inclusion is really important. But so compared to technical skills, what would you think? What answer would it be?
Well, cultural. Okay, so of course it's not the chat. Otherwise, I could have asked the person right asking this. Culture means organizational culture or country's culture, right? If it's, let me assume that it's organizational culture, because this question is to an HR professional. Organizational culture is the backbone of any organization growing. So if you've got respective technical skills, if you've got respective desired skills, but you do not really fit to the culture, it gets counterproductive, right? So let me take an example of counterproductivity. I hope you all have heard about horsepower. So of course, this is a unit of engine, horsepower. For example, if 4 horses are tied to a cart and they're running, imagine if the cart is not moving because the horses may be tied to in opposite directions, right? So the overall net effect becomes nil. So if you enter in an organizational culture which is not fit for you, or maybe you are not fit for the organization, you should tailor yourself to the organizational culture, because normally the organizational culture does not change for a single human, right? If you are not getting fixed, it's better if you switched from an organization, because you'll get counterproductive and you won't be able to perform because you're not satisfied with the overall culture of an organization. The overall culture, we cannot say a culture is bad or good, but it's basically the organizational culture. It can be top to bottom culture, it can be a matrix organization, it can be horizontal. So we just need to adapt to the organizational culture, and sometimes when the organizations are growing, we make the cultures ourselves. So when you go to established organizations, it's difficult to change the culture. If you go to an organization which is growing, it is easier to change the culture. So organizational culture has an importance like a backbone in a body.
Thank you. Thanks once again. So we have the last question. How do we manage the managers who are not concerned about their team members' stress levels?
So first job of a manager is to manage their team, right? So and this management includes stress and everything. I always say that a good manager should know about the personal circumstances of a person as well. So for example, if a person is going through stress, the manager should divert some work to another team member, maybe take some work. Just relax that human being, because everybody's a human. And do not consider humans as robots, right? So they have emotions. As per my 20 years experience, I've been very candid. If you give respect to humans, they give this back twofold. But if you will not support your respective person that in a stress that person is facing, that person will never go extra mile for you. So managers need to really work on how do they need to manage their team. And if they are unable to manage their team, it means they need training on leadership, that how to manage a team. So yes, 100% right, they need to manage the stress. And there we are getting so many questions. So let's take last 2 questions.
Yes. Okay. So what kind of research one should do before applying for a job at a certain organization? Some people call it homework. What kind of homework an applicant should do?
Okay. So first of all, the websites. And in UK, they can also search about their shareholders, right, in case they would like to. Their profiles, of course, from that they can have an idea about the culture, and also they can see the LinkedIn profiles of the important people from their websites. Normally, in About Us tab, there's a leadership tab, or there's an governance tab, and you can see the governance structure, so you can see that as well. And see the product line, whether they're service providers, they are product providers. If they are products, you need to know about the basic products. You may not know about the nitty-gritties, but of course you should know about the total portfolio they have, right? They possess. So that enabling you to be talking well in front of them. For example, you in an interview, you talk about products, and in the end they turn up to be service provider. So it's berserk, right? To be. So this is the homework, But normally we mean that have a homework before you appear in an interview.
Thank you. I think that is it with the questions. There's another feedbacks coming up. Thank you for a very clear and concise answer. We have another feedbacks. So that is it, Dr. Ali. Thank you so much for joining the session, and we look forward to the next one. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, and I'm really thankful to all the participants for making it very participative and interactive. And of course, we shall keep having these sessions with more even industry experts, even not always with me, but of course we can hold such more sessions, especially for the students, right? We have, because we would like to give them an opportunity to talk to us for the confusions they have, right? Other than the classes. So thank you so much, Anna, for your presence. Thank you so much, everybody. See you again.
Thank you. Have a good day.